Welcome to a special edition of Legal AF. I'm joined again by Senator Doug Jones. The big, beautiful bill, I can't even use that phrase, the budget bill for Donald Trump. Budget bills follow the money. They reflect the priorities of a president. And we just did some reporting separately about how devastating this will be to red states, including Senator Jones's state of Alabama. I mean, just the sheer magnitude of the amount of people, 11 million that are going to be dumped off of health care, the almost $1 trillion cut in Medicare and food stamps. That's not going to fall equally on the population. It's going to fall on red states and MAGA voters who are voting against their interest every time they support Donald Trump. Buried within that bill, though, is as a lawyer as skilled as Senator Jones is something that would undermine the ability of people to seek redress in court about something little covered, but that you and I know well, Senator Jones, litigation funding. Senator Jones, thanks for being on Legal AF again.
It's great to be with you again. Thanks.
So why don't you brief our audience about what did you find in the bill, and what is, and let's as I joke, this is a TED Talk meets a law school class. Let's explain it to a group that's primarily not lawyers, but we all vibrate on the same frequency.
Sure. Look, people, I'm sure, have seen various news accounts and things of major litigation that's going on. It could be a mass tort where you've got a product that has been defective or something, and a company is sued by consumers who have been injured in some way by this product. You also see it with small businesses who sue major corporations because they allege that they're colluding and setting prices, and there's an antitrust violation. You see it with regard to patent infringements, where small businesses are also suing companies who are using what they have taken as their patents and infringing on that for their own benefit. That kind of litigation. You see the results of that, and it amounts to significant damages, but it's also protracted litigation. And it's non-frivolous litigation. It's got real meat to it, but could last for years and could be very, very expensive, not just on the lawyers, but on the litigants themselves. And so there is an industry that has grown up over the last 10, 15 years or so called litigation financing, where a managed fund will more or less invest in litigation for essentially and cover the expenses for periods of time, long periods of time, expensive litigation. They will cover that as an investor. And then at the end, if there is success, they will share in the proceeds of that. It's very similar to the way lawyers develop contingency fees because, at some point, someone who might be severely injured in an automobile accident couldn't afford to hire a lawyer and pay them by the hour, not knowing whether or not that they could recover enough. So they developed the contingencies where the lawyer shared in the proceeds on a percentage. That's what this industry has been. But the Tillis bill is one backed by big corporations, the chamber and others, to try to stop and put a stop on those kind of actions. Small businesses suing larger businesses, consumers suing big businesses. And it does it by trying to put an exorbitant tax. I think it started out at close to 50%. Now I think it's in the low 30s, but still an exorbitant tax on any recovery that comes in. And the reason that is important is because a lot of these folks that invest with the funds are tax exempt. They're pension funds. Some are foreign investors, not sovereign wealth funds, not governments, but individuals who want to invest in this country. And litigation financing is a way to kind of diversify their holdings in the United States. But this tax will literally put a crimp on that. If it goes into effect, it's going to be difficult, I think, for those cases to go forward. And that is a real problem. And by the way, this bill might raise a little bit of money, but it's not gonna make a dent in the deficit. It's not gonna really be offset. It's not gonna help health care. It's not gonna help those Medicaid recipients. It's not gonna do anything to help with infrastructure. It's not gonna do anything to help with the climate crisis that we see coming and how they're trying to destroy that. This is simply under the reconciliation bill, which is supposed to be just about tax, a policy-driven thing driven by big business, consistent with the rest of the bill with tax cuts for the wealthiest in America, the wealthiest corporations, and really hurting the little guy, including little small businesses.
Yeah, Donald Trump's about to throw 11 million people off of health insurance, including children. Almost $1 trillion in food stamps and Medicare cuts, which used to be the third rail, or even, as Josh Hawley just recently said, political suicide for any party to suggest that. But he's going to do it. And guess what he's giving you in return, everybody? No tax on tips. No tax on tips. While you struggle without dignity to try to survive in this country. I mean, the roles of Medicare and Medicaid food stamps has doubled in the last 20 years. Obamacare and Obama tried to address that and did a great job with it. But now you have these, as you said, these policy-driven decisions. I mean, a hypothetical voter who supports Donald Trump on cultural wedge issues might be thinking, well, we got to tighten our belt. It's an austerity program, right? We all just tighten our belt. Oh, wait, the deficit goes up. The national debt goes up $5 trillion. I mean, we're at the point, Senator Jones, as you know, where we got to raise $1 trillion every year just to pay the debt before we can spend $1 on anything else.
Yeah, no, look, this is a deficit buster. I mean, this is going to increase. You know, when you and I were like younger, growing up, watching the Republican Party was truly one of conservative austerity. At least they professed to do that. Reagan came into office saying that, although he increased the deficit more than any other president, just about. Now we've had issues. You know, COVID increased the deficit because of things that we had to do. But the fact of the matter is Donald Trump increased that deficit tremendously under his watch the first time. Now he's doubling down on that and increasing it by what I think the latest estimates are $3 or $4 trillion with no offsetting revenue. This is going to be a problem going forward. It is putting America's economy at risk. It is putting our stability, our credit rating at risk. We're already seeing some downgrades on that. And all the while they're doing it in order to favor the wealthiest people in this country. And I know that sounds like Bernie Sanders, which no one has really ever accused me of sounding like Bernie Sanders in policy. But the fact is, it is increasing. It is only aiding the wealthiest people in this country, which makes sure that those people in my state that voted for Donald Trump, who are already seeing a significant wealth gap between themselves and the wealthiest in this state, much less the country, are going to see it grow even wider. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And that's what we're going to see with this. It's in healthcare, it's in jobs, you name it. And that's going to be, I think, a huge issue. And even as to the litigation funding, those same folks may end up being part of a group that ends up getting noticed because they're part of a class. They've had some kind of problem, whether it is a credit rating agency, whatever it might be, to where they have also got a claim. Those claims are not going to be able to be pursued by them individually. And now Donald Trump and the Tillis bill is basically saying, we're going to try to just stop anybody from bringing those claims on your behalf.
Yeah, and I'll talk about it from a personal perspective. I mean, I've been a lawyer for 35 years, primarily defense, but a fair amount of class action work and some plaintiff work as well. Actually, you may not know this, Senator Jones. I have a Popok firm, the Popok firm, that is dedicated to people who have been involved in catastrophic injuries. I've got a team of lawyers around the country that handle it, and so we're always looking at that right mix of contingency fee in order to get the case brought, without which they would not be able to vindicate their rights in court. People would not be able to get justice, or I've used and worked with litigation funders before in order to fund a case because they were willing to take the risk on the recovery in a way that even my law firm couldn't handle it at our size with a contingency fee case arrangement, because there's hundreds, if not thousands of hours that get invested in a case. And a lot of expenses, if there's experts involved, that have to be laid out by somebody. It's not the client, it's the lawyer. And so this is the way to dissuade lawyers and law firms from taking cases, because there's no funding for costs. In some cases, you said patent, and you're talking about, it could be $500,000 in experts talking about patents, or hundreds of thousands of dollars in a medical malpractice case. And so where's that money going to come from? It either comes from the bank account of the lawyer that's handling the case, or they're able to partner with a litigation funder, and this tax on the litigation funder to deny them money so that they get out of the business of helping people in justice. You're right. That is, and you have to bury that in a bill, because if you just said that out loud at a town hall, people would pick up pitchforks.
That's right. And they bury it when and when it comes up, they say, oh, we are simply trying to stop frivolous litigation. That's the mantra that the chamber uses all the time. You see it, the business councils, across the country. It's always frivolous litigation they're going to stop. Well, what folks need to understand is that there are all manner of mechanisms within the judicial system to root out frivolous lawsuits. And it does. The judge can sanction, the defense lawyers can ask for sanctions, and it's not just in bringing the case, it's how you handle the cases. There's any number of things any number of tools in the tool shed that the court has for that specific purpose. And that's why you don't see a lot of sanctions and a lot of frivolous lawsuits, because people know, I don't want to be sanctioned, for God's sakes, as a lawyer. I know you don't either. So you do a lot of pre-litigation investigation to make sure that you have as many of the facts as you can so that you can make this. And quite frankly, while the litigation funders do not get involved in the strategy as a case goes on, unlike some insurance companies, which, by the way, the defendants are not paying their lawyers, their insurance company is paying them. Litigation funders don't get into the strategy, but they do help evaluate a case. They're not going to invest in a frivolous lawsuit. It's absurd to think about. This is just another way to prohibit the everyday individual, whether you're a Trump voter or a Democratic voter, from bringing lawsuits as a class or as a group against these massive corporations. It's a real travesty. I know there's going to be some amendments offered. I'm hoping this will get stripped or at least modified such that it doesn't have the intended effect. And by the way, it's not past what they call the Byrd Rule. I don't know if y'all talked about the Byrd Rule on the show before, but in the Byrd Rule in reconciliation, you're not supposed to have anything in there that is a policy matter as opposed to simply tax. This is a wolf in sheep's clothing, a wolf in tax clothing. And I think people are seeing through it that it's really a policy decision to try to force litigation to come to a halt.
I briefed the audience on the Senate parliamentarian and her role in all of this, right? Yeah, which is very important. Senator Doug Jones giving an amazing briefing that's been little covered about some aspects of the budget bill not yet passed. And we still have time to object to certain aspects of it, including related to litigation funding. Good news, everybody. Senator Jones is going to be kind of a regular here, contributor to Legal AF on things that matter to him and therefore matter to our constitutional republic and our rule of law. Senator Jones, I can't wait to have you back.
Thanks, man. It's been great to be with you.
I'm Michael Popok, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of Midas Touches Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popok Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popok Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event, by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popok firm today at 1-877-POPOK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopokfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popok firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way.